Welcome to the What's Happening Birmingham video podcast.
What lies inside all of us is more than data, it's life. What's flowing through America's veins is its diversity. And it's those very differences that will lead to answers for generations to come.
Hello everyone, this is Jarvis Escott with What's Happening Birmingham. Today I'm back with a familiar face on the podcast. Has it been since the pandemic?
I think it's been since the pandemic.
Oh,
it's been a
wow.
While, man. It's been a while. You've been neglecting me,
Oh
man.
everyone, if you don't know this face, but I will properly introduce him. Jefferson County District Attorney, Mr. Danny Carr. District Attorney Carr, thank you for coming on today.
Hey man, thank you for having me, man. It's been too long, far too long.
Great. As you all know, Danny is a very busy man. He's always, it's hard. I would say, it may say Danny Carr, but I want to say Danny Jefferson County because he is always, looking out for everybody here in our great county. Just want to catch up with Danny and just talk about a few things. One program I think is near and dear to your heart, first off, is the Second Chance Job Fair.
Man, let me tell you, that is kind of my baby. And I think I was the first DA, I know in the state of Alabama, to do a Second Chance Job Fair. That's one of the things I talked about even when I was campaigning, which it doesn't seem like it was almost 7 years ago, as DA, to talk about doing a job fair. But the difference in this job fair was that it would be aimed at people who have been touched by the criminal justice system, which made it a little different. But the motivation behind it was that I would hear a lot of people say, man, I had some transgressions. 15 years ago, it keeps creeping up on me. I'm out. I'm having a hard time finding meaningful employment, livable wage employment. So one of the things I thought about was, man, this would be a great crime fighting tool as well. So we decided to do a Second Chance Job Fair. We've had 8, I think, since 2019. There have been 8 at the Boutwell Auditorium. We've had 1,442 job seekers over that time. 833 hires out of that number. And those are hires either that day or immediately thereafter the fair with real livable wage jobs, and plus almost 60 different employers. And we've had Fortune 500 companies be title sponsors. I never thought it would be this big, and I think it has caught on because I know we've had job fairs in other parts of the county as well, even second chance hiring fairs from other DAs as well. So I'm proud to kind of had the epiphany, so to speak, in the foresight to do something like that, because I've often said you can put a police on every corner, but if you want to fight crime, you change the trajectory of people's lives. And we do that through this job fair, and we're planning another one, I think, in October coming up.
Yeah, because definitely, like, if they get out and they can't find a job, where else they going to turn?
They're going to turn to a life of crime. And let me say this also. I gave the numbers of 8 job fairs, over 1,442 job seekers over that 8-year span. I mean, 8 over those 8 job fair sessions, 833 hires. But also, if you think about it, I want to say that is almost probably like a $20 million impact. People say, how is that? Well, if you look at $25,000, right, wages for a person, those are minimum, time 833 individuals, that equal almost $20 million.
Oh, wow.
Think about that for a minute.
That they legitimately making.
Correct.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are making much more than that, but I just started at the minimum. So again, it impacts our community in a variety of ways, man.
Well, talk about another thing that's really impacting our community, the state, and really nationwide is these fentanyl numbers.
True. Man, let me tell you, I've been talking about fentanyl, Jarvis, since before the pandemic. And I've been telling groups and pastors and individuals that fentanyl is coming. It's going to come like a thief in the night. And, a lot of the messaging, especially through the media, talks about shootings and murders. And rightfully so. I believe there's a mantra in the media, like if it bleeds, it leads, right? It leads to the story. But let me tell you about the fentanyl numbers real quick, because I think your viewing public will want to know this. 2019, we had 95 overdose deaths of fentanyl. In 2020, that number rose to 190.
Wow.
In 2022, that number rose to 316. So we went from 95 to 190 to 316. Think about that for a moment.
And that's what's been documented.
Documented overdose fentanyl deaths.
Mm-hmm.
Those are real numbers. Now, what they're going to look like in 2022, I don't have yet. But those are real numbers, man. And the irony is that there are so many people dying from fentanyl overdose.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about fentanyl being laced in marijuana, being laced in oxycodone pills, being laced in cocaine, heroin, all of those things. And fentanyl is very dangerous. And even if you don't use it, even if you just have it in your possession,
mm-hmm.
you can OD from it.
Oh, wow.
And if someone doesn't have Narcan available, then you will die.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard people talk about Narcan being available over the counter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's the question, and here's the thought process.
Mm-hmm.
If you're by yourself and you use fentanyl, either knowingly or unknowingly, and you start convulsing and die, you're not going to have the ability to use the Narcan to save your own life.
Yeah, it's called 911 either.
Correct. So somebody got to be around.
Mm-hmm.
So that sounds good in theory. But the truth is, people need to know about fentanyl. If you have kids that smoking marijuana, you need to have a real conversation about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm telling you, people are dying every day with the use of this fentanyl. Every day.
Oh, wow. Another I'm going to step on, too, is Crime Stoppers.
All right.
I know you're on the board, Crime Stoppers.
Right.
It's a program. I guess some people classify this as paid snitching, but you know,
right.
whatever information you do get a cash reward.
You do get a cash reward, you know, and let me just give a shout out to Crime Stoppers. And obviously, I got to give a shout out because I was picked Crime Stopper of the Year last year, so I'm proud, obviously proud of that. But Crime Stoppers is not paid snitching. What it is Crime Stoppers is where you call and give a tip.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't ask you your name
mm-hmm.
or anything. What they do is give you a number,
mm-hmm.
and then that number allows you to get a reward
mm-hmm.
upon the information being verified
mm-hmm.
that it's reliable information. So no one ever knows who you are.
Mm-hmm.
They never know. Now, the irony to that is, you know, you've had cases like the Cupcake McKinney case, which is a high-profile case.
Mm-hmm.
You had the case where what was the young boy over there by Winona? That case who was
mm-hmm.
shot tragically while he was in the house.
Mm-hmm.
You had all those cases where it took tips
mm-hmm.
through Crime Stoppers for us to find out who the trigger puller was or who the person that committed such a horrible crime. And those persons were not revealed, their identity was not revealed or anything, but the information that they provided led to the arrest and prosecution of those individuals. So Crime Stoppers is a very valuable tool in our community, and it has led to some very important arrests and very important people being held accountable for the crimes that they committed.
Or one thing I want to say too, I don't know whether this is increased, and do a shout out for Birmingham and Jefferson County Police, but there are more cameras, so you're telling on yourself.
Absolutely. You know, we call that the silent witness, right?
Yeah.
That's the silent witness.
Yeah, there's more cameras. If you drive anywhere downtown, there's more cameras. Matter of fact, we got speed breakers.
Yeah. We got flock systems.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of cameras everywhere, obviously. There are very few areas where there aren't any cameras. Cameras have helped us tremendously
mm-hmm.
as it relates to prosecuting cases. Obviously, if you don't have a witness, then you don't have a case.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have a witness who come to court and swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. But cameras are the silent witness in most instances, and that is the best evidence in most instances. But I will say this, a shout out to Birmingham PD, Jefferson County Sheriff Department, a lot of other agencies who are working hard every day to keep our community safe. And let me also say Jefferson County Commission and also our Birmingham City Council people who are stepping up to the plate to also be partners in this crime fighting situation.
They're not telling on themselves. The people that are doing crime is telling on them, and let's get into snitching.
Well,
that in most of your cases,
well, you know, and Facebook is a helpful tool.
Facebook is too. These people are cooperating.
Yeah, they're cooperating. People are talking,
mm-hmm.
and that's what you need. At the end of the day, mm-hmm. you know, crimes can be committed in certain areas,
mm-hmm.
and you won't hear a peep.
Mm-hmm.
But a crime committed over the mountain, they're gonna tell it because they don't want that going on in their communities. And I know that's a difficult situation to be in, but at the end of the day, you didn't ask to be there. You didn't ask to see it. Mm-hmm. Someone had the nerve to commit it in front of you. And because of that, and I wouldn't even say they had the nerve to do it, they disrespected you by doing it in front of you. And in certain instances, I mean, you have to come forward in order for people to be held accountable.
And then the media looks like, or if you see different shows on TV, it's like, oh, a lot of people not snitching. Well, it's a lot of people snitching. That's all they're doing.
You know, yeah, it's people who are coming forward and in my opinion, doing the right thing by having people held accountable. And I can tell you, as District Attorney of Jefferson County, those are the tools we need and the people we need to come forward and prosecute these cases.
Okay, and one thing I noticed, next month is Juneteenth. You got a Juneteenth event coming up?
Juneteenth event coming up. Let me just give a shout out to my mom. Obviously, she's involved in that event. It's going to benefit Cornerstone, which revitalizes the whole western side of town, mainly over in West End. And Pastor Wesley, is the creator of Cornerstone. We're going to be at Fair Park Arena. We're going to have a national recording gospel artist attending and performing as well. And that's coming up at, I think it's June, is it 14th or 16th, one of those days.
Yeah.
But it's coming up. It's going to be at Fair Park Arena, so we're asking people to come out and support. It's going to be for a very worthy cause as well.
Okay, two new laws, before we started, I wanted to talk about was the expungement and then the Redeem Act.
Right. So typically or historically, people could not get an expungement. In the legal term, people talk about is purging, right? Purging something from your record. People couldn't get that in Alabama. Then the law changed a little bit and allowed individuals to get an expungement under certain conditions, but it was very stringent. For instance, if you pled guilty, you were not eligible. In most of the cases, people plead guilty. Maybe if it's a lesser charge or whatever, they plead, right? Have a plea agreement. So now the Redeemer Act, it has basically expanded which cases are eligible for an expungement. If you plead guilty, you're eligible for an expungement now, but there are certain requirements under that law. And that law is very involved, and I suggest we come back one day and have a whole conversation about the Redeemer Act, because it would take me 20 or 30 minutes to talk about all the aspects of it. But I think people need to understand that there is a law out there that would allow you to get an expungement. But let's say, for instance, real quickly, if you go through diversion court like drug court, veterans court, mental health court, we even have a theft court here. All those courts are diversion courts, which means you go through a certain curriculum, your case is dismissed. If you finish that curriculum and your case is dismissed, you're eligible for an expungement. That's the benefit of a diversion court. If you plead guilty to certain criminal acts, you're eligible for an expungement. If it's a crime of violence, murder, rape in the first degree, some on the high end of the spectrum, you're not eligible for an expungement.
Marijuana,
you're eligible for an expungement.
Okay.
You're eligible. So there are certain criminal acts that you're eligible. Now, even if it's a misdemeanor offense and you plead in city court or one of the municipalities, the law states that you still have to file it in the circuit court, right? If it happens in Jefferson County, in the circuit court of Jefferson County, and you have to serve the jurisdiction where your conviction was occurred, whether it's Mount Brook, Gardendale, whatever, you have to serve them. The city attorney's office, you have to serve the police department, you have to serve the district attorney's office, and you have to serve the court where your original conviction was, right? Then you'll get a court date here, and then my office will look at it, the judge will look at it, and there are certain things that you have to do. You have to get a background check through ALEA, you have to get fingerprinted. Each case, I think, costs $500. There's a $500 fee that you have to pay, and you have to get a case action summary from the courthouse in which your conviction occurred, right? And all this stuff had to be compiled and then filed in court, and then you go through the process.
Okay.
And it's a lengthy process.
Lengthy process. So last part of the interview I want to get to, I know this is kind of like what people say, the job description, what you do.
Right.
Getting justice for victims, representing the public.
Right.
Recently I saw a news clipping online or in television. A couple of death verdicts has been juries found.
Right. Yeah, we got a death verdict I think about a month ago on the Irondale case. For people who are not familiar with it, it was a couple who ran a hotel in Irondale. The handyman who was there, I think thought he was due $50 from them. They only gave him $30, and he came back and was caught on video, man. It was a horrific killing. It's like watching a movie, but it was in real life. And they both were killed. One beaten with a hammer, the other beaten and throat slashed. We had a trial up here, and the jury came back 12-0 for death. And what made it death eligible was that he killed 2 or more people doing one common core scheme or plan, right? So if you kill 2 people in one act, that is a death eligible case in Alabama. And the jury came back and awarded a death verdict. I will say this, he was offered something less than death, I think. Well, there was conversations about it, but ultimately we ended up having a jury trial, and the jury came back guilty on capital. Then we had what's called the sentencing phase, and he got a chance to put on what you call mitigation information about his childhood, about how his parents raised him, drug usage, things of that nature. And then we got to put on a case about the aggravating factors. And then a jury went back, and the law right now is that if you get 10 people to vote for death, and 2 can vote for life without parole, as long as 10 said death, then death is the verdict. A judge doesn't have the authority to override like they used to, right? But a guilty verdict requires 12 people, a unanimous verdict. So we got a unanimous verdict on the guilt phase. In the sentencing phase, 10 people voted. I think actually 12 people. It was 12-0 for death.
So when people talk about, like you said, victims' right, getting justice, I mean, your job at the end of the day is just to present the case to the jury of our peers or people that's here in Jefferson County.
Right.
And then if they decide what verdict, and you come back with the best.
We come back with the best information. I tell people oftentimes people truly don't understand the role of the district attorney. I always say the district attorney is the gatekeeper of the criminal justice system. Our job is to make sure that the innocent doesn't suffer, but also that the guilty doesn't go free. And go free doesn't mean, not jail or anything like that. There are many ways that a person can be sentenced, right? Whether it's a fine, it could be community corrections, or it could be probation, or it could be prison. But the major thing is that we make sure also that the process is fair and that person is adequately represented. But in this case, we presented a case to a jury, and then that jury made a recommendation, and that jury recommended death, and that's the sentence.
While you're on that, can you just kind of tell the viewing audience, try to encourage them to participate in jury duty when they get that little letter in the mail?
Jury duty is so important. I tell people it's a privilege, because a lot of people would never get that opportunity. Whether it's grand jury or what they call a petite jury, where a person actually hears a trial. It's so important that you take part in that process. If you want to talk about the system not being fair, or you want to talk about the system being too lenient, or whatever your position is, if you get an opportunity to sit on a jury, hear facts, apply the law with your peers, and then you knock on the door and you come out with a verdict. That is your civic duty. And oftentimes people are not eligible for a variety of reasons. But if you get that summons, I would encourage you to come and participate in jury duty. And in most instances, you will find that it's a pleasant experience. It really is.
One question I think I never had an opportunity to ask you is, I ask a lot of people, especially in leadership positions, is what keeps you up at night when it comes to this job?
Oftentimes, just making sure that we're being fair and doing things right for everybody.
Okay.
This job is 24/7. Whether I never have an off day. So for me, just making sure the system is fair for everybody, figuring out a creative way to help people as well. People will be amazed at how often or how many things we do, meaning all of us here in the DA's office, for people that you will never hear about. Whether if a law enforcement officer should not have searched the car. Although the drugs were found in the car by law, we don't issue warrants on those cases, but that never makes the news, right? Most of the things that make the news are things that you may get a reaction out of. DA doing something unethical, DA taking money, things of that nature. I've often said that leadership is not about being right, it's about making things right? Those are two separate things. So if you're in a position of leadership and you humble yourself and understand that it's a privilege to be in that position and that people entrusted you with that position. Now, as DA, typically the DA is the most hated man in the county or the most hated woman in the county because people are just typically upset with you because there's no accountability. They feel like you holding someone, their loved one is accountable, is your fault, not their fault. But what we try to do is be present in the community, have programs that help people along the way, make sure we're in schools to keep kids out of the pipeline of prison, make sure we provide jobs for individuals who need that second opportunity, look at cases where we think people have been sentenced egregiously. We've done all those things. I think we've done things in an unorthodox manner here. You know, we do things that typical DA's offices don't do. But I think this day and time and this climate, I think it's important for us to do that and have a holistic approach to what we're doing.
Okay, final question. I think this is going to be the easiest question. If they need to reach you, what's your phone number?
My phone number is 205-325-5252. My email is card@jccal.org.
And the reason why I put that as a final question, because Danny truly is one of the most accessible district. I don't know too many district attorneys, but I mean, truly accessible to the community. That you always see him out, whether you volunteering with the kids or speaking at a program. He's Danny's accessible. So if you pick up the phone and call him, you can reach straight to him. Or he'll get somebody in touch with you. And I just want to commend you for that, because there's not too many we have like in the office that accessible, to the public.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that's a part of leadership, and oftentimes you may not be able to help someone.
Yeah.
But you may, but the mere fact that you were honest with them, you had that dialogue with them, and then sometimes you can help some people who don't know where to turn. So I try to pride myself on being available, being accessible. Sometimes people have unrealistic expectations, unrealistic results. But at the end of the day, I tell them, I'd rather you hate me for the truth than love me for a lie.
Man,
always be honest with people, and that what allowed me to sleep at night rather than stay up all night.
Man, I think I'm going to trademark that one right there. I think that's a good saying. That may go a little viral on TikTok or something. Put that, hate me for the truth and me tell a lie.
That's right. I'd rather hate me for the truth than love me for a lie. So I just try to be honest with people. And in doing that, man, I found that that's just a good way for me to operate in this space and keep some credibility with the community as well. So that's what I try to do, man.
Well, Danny, thanks again, brother, for always coming on. Look forward again, especially if you have another. God, I know we're in May right now, but if you all heard at the top of this interview that he has this great second chance job fair, and trust and believe, if you want to hire people, give us a second chance. I know he always do it at the beginning of the year, but Danny found a way to do it towards the end of the year too.
I will.
Enough of you all step up. So
I will.
Please contact him. Thank you all for watching this interview. Please check out what'shappenedbirmingham.com for more interviews. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I got the audio version of this on Apple Podcasts. Thank you all again, and have a great day. Bye-bye, and be safe, Jefferson County.
Be safe.
Thank you for watching the What's Happening Birmingham video podcast. Please check out our website, app, or subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest videos today.